This week on Leap, Live, and Lemonade, I'm joined by Ken Westgaard, launch strategist, coach, someone who has seen the back end of a lot of six-figure launches, and as you might know him, the sales page pro. What I loved most about this conversation weren't the tech strategies, the launch tricks, the sales page segments, or blog tricks, although there are tons of them in this episode. It was that Ken shared that for a long time, he didn't even like launching. And instead of faking the hype or forcing the formulas, he decided to go a level deeper. He asked himself, what would a launch look like if it actually felt good? If you've ever launched something and you felt burned out, invisible, as if you were just screaming into the void, this one is for you. Ken brings a calm, human-first attitude into launching, which honestly just made me breathe easier. I think it will do it for you too. Let's get started. This is the Leap, Live, and Lemonade podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Esther Godor. 12 years ago, I took a big leap. I left my corporate job. I moved into a new country and started a business from scratch in my fifth language. Today, I run a boutique launch and systems agency, helping ambitious entrepreneurs build smart and scalable digital businesses on Kajabi without having to do everything by themselves. This is your go-to place with honest stories, actionable strategies, and real talk around building a business and life you love. Your best life and success story are still ahead. Let's write them together. Hey, Ken, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Yeah, nice having you. I'm really excited. I want to find out more about your journey, but I'm also so much looking forward to understanding what you do, because I'm super into that stuff lately. So I'm excited for both areas. But let's start with you, introducing you to our listeners, viewers. What is it that you do, and why do you do what you do?
Well, first of all, my name is Ken Westgaard. I'm also known as the Sales Page Pro. So that kind of explains what I do. I work on sales pages, make sure that they are converting nicely and, makes it a little bit more easy to create. And hopefully that will generate some revenue for you as well. I live in Norway with my wife and two kids, and we have two cats. And we're looking forward to springtime as it's coming closer every single day now. So, yeah,
Oh my God, I'm looking forward to it in Spain, and I don't even want to imagine
right.
how
Yeah,
much you're looking for.
it's cold, and sometimes it snows, sometimes it rains. I'm not a big fan. I wish I was in Spain. Actually, that would be really nice.
Yeah. You would be like, you are nuts. This is summer.
Yeah, I would be wearing shorts and t-shirts probably.
Yeah, you know what? Whenever we go to the beach in January, February, and I see someone in the water, I'm like, they
You're
must
crazy.
be Scandinavian.
That's tourists, right?
Yeah, not even from either Western or Eastern Europe,
No,
from the north. They
right.
must be Swedish or Norwegian or Danish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. How did you end up being the sales page expert? Probably it's not something that if I asked you as a little kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Definitely not that. I don't even remember what I wanted to be. Well, actually, I wanted to be an archaeologist at some point, probably. Excavating things, old things. That was really cool. But yeah, no, sales pages was definitely not on my radar at all. And, things happen. But it's been a journey for almost 10 years now, I think. So, I started back in, I think it was 2014. I started. And then back then it was all about web design, graphic design, those kind of things. But that quickly evolved into focusing a little bit more on conversion optimization, looking into that, like how can we make the most out of what we have on our websites and stuff like that. And then that evolved into email marketing. And then I started looking into launches because that kind of evolved conversion optimization, involves email marketing, involves web design, and all that stuff. But then again, launches is like this big, massive thing with a lot of things that needs to work together. And at some
So many
point,
moving parts.
yeah, so many moving parts. So at some point, I felt like, I don't know, this is just too much. Although I know,
Hmm.
there are people who are focusing on that, like Jeff Walker, I mean, and, he's
Yeah.
really great at that. To me, it was like, this is not really my thing. And that was actually just last year, about a year ago, where I kind of felt like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if this is what I want to do anymore. And at that time, my wife, she had torn her meniscus as well. So basically, I was
Mm-hmm.
taking care of everything, the house, the kids, their activities, everything. So it felt like a lot at that point.
Hmm.
So I was like, I don't know. Do I want to quit? Do I just want to throw in the towel and say, that's it, I'm done? I don't want to run a business anymore. But I decided to say no and, just keep a client, a one client, actually, just one client. And then working with that client throughout the year and just letting things be the way they are, and whatever happens, happens, and let things evolve. And by the time of November of last year, 2024, like something opened up and just showed me like, this is what you're supposed to do. It was really weird because it was in the BBD group, Business by Design.
Hmm.
And I noticed, obviously this is something that's been there all the time, but people started asking for feedback on sales pages, and they've been doing that for a long time, but I just haven't
Hmm.
paid attention to it. But this time it's like something clicked, like, wow, people are really asking about feedback on sales pages. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. There's a gap in the market here, isn't it? Like, there's nobody who really, I mean, you have people who do done for you services, right? They will build
Yeah.
your sales page and they will write your copy and everything.
Copywriters, yeah, in
Absolutely,
general.
absolutely everything. So you don't really have to do anything on your own. And then on the other side of it, you have, a couple of courses here and there, but that seems to be like just about it. There's nothing else in
Hmm.
between. There's no one really working with you to create that sales
Hmm.
page, because that is one of my philosophies or values, that we need to collaborate on a sales page, because you know your audience the best, obviously, and we want to make sure that it all sounds like you. It's important to have that
Yeah.
authentic voice. So I don't believe that you can just sure, you can do some research and stuff like that, but you can't just step away from it. You need to be a part of it. So that's why I believe in the collaborate way of
Hmm.
building sales pages instead. But ever since November, things have been moving fast. There's been a lot of momentum, and I just really kind of find my purpose with sales pages, because it combined a lot of the web design and graphic design that I love from the beginning, and then combined it with messaging, which has been a thing that I've been loving for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years or something like that.
Hmm.
Really digging into the language that we use and how we speak to our audience and all of those kinds of things, because it's not just about what we say, but it's about how we say it as well. So it's been a really interesting journey, and I think this is probably the shortest way I can explain it. But it's been 10 years in the making, kind of. But I'm happy to be here now.
Yeah, it's amazing how what you describe as feeling like this is your true place.
Hmm.
I remember, I think, seeing the first post of when you realized, or when you told the others that,
Right.
yeah, this is what I'm gonna stand for. This is what I'm gonna focus on, only on this.
Hmm.
And from that moment where you might have been like, "Ooh, yeah, I'm pretty certain, but is this gonna be really it? Is this gonna work?" And now understanding that it looks like it really is
Hmm.
the thing, that's amazing. And yeah, it's like, tip of the iceberg. 10 years in the making is
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
yeah, finally one day it
Finally.
happened magically. But it's probably all those trial and
Yeah.
error and all those ideas over the last 10 years
Yeah,
adding up.
I believe that we wouldn't be where we are unless we haven't gone through what we've gone through.
Yeah.
Every mistake, every failure, all of that just leads us towards something that we're meant to do at some point. But it's just a matter of when that will happen. Obviously, like for me, like it took 10 years. For others, it might hopefully take a little bit less. But you'll get there.
Yeah. It's funny when I started to listen to Jeff Walker in 2017, 20, maybe 2016. And that's when I first heard about how to run a true or a well-working online business.
Mm,
And I was like, shit, from where I am right now, I think it will take me 10 years to to get to the place where I would love to be listening to this guy. And and I realized just recently that, oh my God, I'm almost there. Like in 2017, it felt so daunting to think
yeah.
that it might, because it was clear for me that the type of experience I wanted to have to be able to teach what I'm teaching now. And I was like, I'm not ready yet. I will need 10 years for that. And now it has been 8 years, so
Right.
it feels so much better. But when I first understood, I think that was my first moment when I understood that this is not a short term journey. Once you are in it,
Hmm.
it's, and even when you find something that works, it's still an evolution. It
Yeah.
continues. There are ups and downs. It's always changing, and there is nothing steady here in
No,
this world. Yeah.
definitely not.
Before that 10-year period, did you work for someone else? You didn't do the archaeology thing in the end, but
Right.
what is it that that you left for starting out in the web design yourself?
It's been a couple of things. I've been a store manager for GameStop a few years before I actually started the business, and I've kept the business on the side for quite a while, to be honest, just to kind of make sure that you have a steady income, and I could invest in things that I wanted to, like courses or programs or coaching or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's always been a little bit of a struggle to kind of get the business going because I don't think that I've been, like I said, I didn't find my purpose kind of until now. And then it's always been this
Mm-hmm.
struggle to kind of get into that business. Yes, you can always create a business, but sometimes if your heart is not in it, it's a little bit tough, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I always kept like a side hustle or something on the side. So that's been working for the post office, and I've been yeah. I don't remember all
Okay.
of the different things, but small things all the time. But just make sure
Okay,
that I
so
have
you've
some
always
income
done
anyway,
different.
because we have family and stuff like that. So you want to make sure that
Yeah.
financially you're set.
And with all this struggle that you are articulating now, what would you say that still kept you going? Because we're not talking about two,
Mm.
3 years where you could say, yeah, I'm determined 10 years.
Yeah.
What is it that still kept you going?
I think that's something from way before that as well. Like I always had this desire to start something on my own. I think I wanted to start a recording company at some point because I went to some sound tech and sound engineer school, so I went through that, and I wanted to start some clothing company at some point because I had this idea of like surf skate, snowboarding kind of
Hmm.
company. So there's always been a part of me, but I never kind of figured out like what that's going to be, and definitely not having the guts to take that leap, at least. So there's always been a part of me that always wanted to start something, but I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's just that feeling that you have that you want to do something more than just working a regular 9 to 5. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I totally get that that's right for some people, but for me it never really was. And I feel more fulfilled now that I don't necessarily just work a 9 to 5, when I can kind of decide what I want to do, how I want to do it, when I want to do it, where I want to do it. There's something about that freedom.
Hmm. Okay, so the freedom. How did you manage the, like, the combination of freedom and insecurity, like having a family? You said you always had the side hustles, but were there any moments where where you almost like doubted yourself that this whole thing is ever gonna work out? And what got you through those moments, if there were any?
I would say it's constantly doubting myself. Like, I think we do that all the time, regardless of where our business is. I mean, and like people say, there's a new level, new devil kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
there's always going to be some kind of doubt, but it's just a matter of how you overcome those doubts and how you work through those fears that you might have, instead of
Mhm.
just letting that take over, obviously. But I think, at least after I met James Wedmore in the Business by Design program, I remember when we're getting in there, I remember I bought it because he was talking about you get all these processes and how you can build your business stuff. It's like, yes,
Mhm.
perfect, exactly what I need. And then I jump in, and the first module is about working on yourself. It's like, oh, okay, I've never done this. Well, that was like kind of a little bit weird, but turns out like that's been the most life changing part of the whole program, is to start actually working on yourself. And after that, it's, dive into personal development and mindset and habits and all that stuff. Not everything sticks, obviously, but you try out things and you accept um,
Hmm.
how you are, or the beliefs you have, and you try to change it and work with it. And yeah, so it's been an interesting journey on that side of the business.
Mhm. When you did the work on yourself, or since you've been doing it, because that's an ongoing action as
Yeah.
well, uh, um, an ongoing process. Um, what is it that surprised you the most amongst those findings that came out of actually spending time on working on yourself?
That's a good question. I would say all of the beliefs that you have that's been basically programmed since you were a kid. Like, most of the things that you believe in as an adult is something that you took with you from your childhood.
Mhm.
And what I've noticed when talking to a lot of people is that, there's always some kind of childhood trauma that you went through, probably don't even remember or even aware of, that you kind of
Mhm.
took with you. And for me, it was a lot about feeling insecure and being afraid of stepping into part of, being seen. And
Mhm.
building a business today, with social media and stuff like that, that's obviously a huge part of it. You have to be seen, you have to be visual, in so many ways. So that was a huge thing for me to, I would say I'm probably not wholly over it yet, but I know how to kind of work through it, obviously. But
Mhm.
yeah, that was a big thing of just being on camera, talking about things, just not caring about what people think of you or how they judge you. And yeah.
Mhm. Okay, for me, when I see you on camera, I've been following your latest ones. It feels like, wow, he's so natural.
Well,
So
thank you.
the work is working.
Well, that's good. That's good.
That's great. How how would you say your approach is now different now that you have found the area that is now your 100% mission, than when you were trying to do various things in your own business and maybe with the side hustle? um what is different about a week, a month, at the same period of time?
Well, it's definitely different in that sense that I obviously enjoy what I do a lot more. It's easier
Mhm.
to create things and not just, at least, just helping people with it as well. When I first came across all of this, the sales page concept of helping people, went into the BBB group and just wanted to test things out and see how people responded to it, and, doing it for free. And a lot of the conversations around their sales pages was like, to me, it was so easy to do, but for them, it was like, wow, this is eye opening. This is amazing. Oh, why didn't I think of this? And like, so that really shifted my perspective too, as well, just to kind of understand that, wow, things can actually be easy when you find
Mhm.
the true purpose that you want to do. And obviously, I've been doing this for 10 years now, obviously, not necessarily specifically on sales pages, but it was the combination of design and messaging and all that stuff that I've been working on has culminated into the sales pages aspect of it. So that made it a lot more easy, obviously, but it's fun when you get to sit there and be the expert and people value the things that you share with them and helping
Mm-hmm.
them see that, we can make things better on your sales page. And that again, helps them build their business, grow their business, and they can help other people. So it's this ripple effect, obviously, of me
Oh,
helping
yeah.
them so they can help others.
Yeah, it's an interesting notion of when we find something that's really easy for us, and then sometimes we don't even realize how difficult it might be for others.
Hmm.
But when we do, and we do help them, uh, to me, it's, for example, more difficult to charge the right amount for that because it's like, oh, to
Yeah,
me, it's so
so
easy. Did
easy.
that ever happen to you that you were like, "Ooh, can I?"
Yeah, absolutely. And I probably still struggle a little bit with that. And obviously, when you're starting out with a new concept or whatever they say you do, you always want to, you feel like you got to start low because, I'm not sure how this is working. I don't know if I can help people and all that stuff, but
Now let's test it.
let's
And
test
then
it.
we get stuck there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's important to just kind of, make sure that they pay for the value that you provide them. But I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I've gotten a lot better on that as well. But I remember starting out like it was a race with web and graphic design to be the cheapest one and offer the cheapest
Wow.
deal. Like, and that's kind of why I steered away from it as well at that point, because I didn't feel like I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be, fighting for being the cheapest one to offer a website or whatever. So definitely,
Yeah.
but that is, yeah, pricing has also been a journey where you kind of make sure that you price what you're actually worth. And that's a whole
Mm.
of it on its own.
Especially that we are talking here about mostly, or I don't know how much you have scaled it, but it sounds like it's mostly one-to-one, project by project,
At
and
least for
trying to
now.
be the cheapest in that area.
Hmm.
It sounds insane.
Yeah.
Like it's giving your actual time cheaper, whereas if it's on something more scaled, you are like, okay, I'm gonna go cheaper and I'm gonna bring in more people, but selling the same hour for less, it's always, at least now that I've been in it for a couple of years, that's always the area where I draw a line, yeah.
Yeah.
Because then I know I will, sometimes there is the temptation, but I know how much I will regret it if I do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we always assume, or a lot of times we assume that we know what others are willing to pay or how much they can afford, when that reality is just based on our own assumptions because we don't know. We don't know if they, got millions of dollars or if they were willing to invest their last $1,000
Oh,
on
yeah.
us. It's crazy how much we plant these ideas inside of our own head when has no effect in reality. Yeah.
Yeah, it's assumptions that we can't avoid. Um but yeah, we never know. We don't know.
No, we don't.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like sending out an offer and I'm like, "Oh my god, this guy is not going to pay that money."
Yeah.
and it and I was wrong so many times, and just seeing that person even without asking more questions making the first payment is
Mhm.
like, "Oh my god, I really shouldn't make any assumption based on, like, I'm on service provider platforms where you see how much they have spent or
Mhm.
what hourly rate they have paid before. And sometimes I'm like, oh, they are gonna think I'm insane, and they just make the payment, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, right.
Like 2 years ago, maybe I wouldn't even have applied or responded to that job based on those assumptions from the profile. And it's crazy how much money I think I would leave on the table if I always listen to my my gut feel about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Um, when you became clear about this niche, or since that time, how do you keep, like, I've had my attempts on focusing on one area, and I And I know, and I even teach my clients the one product, one message, one
Hmm.
audience. But to me, it hasn't been the case yet that I would be able to get to the point where it works out. Also because I would say probably none of the areas felt that that aligned, or at least not for a prolonged period of time. How do you avoid, shiny object syndrome? Or if I come to you and say, hey, I need help with my sales page, but I also need a new design, can you just do it both? How do you resist?
Yeah, that's hard. Obviously for me, it's over the years I've done so many things, so it's only natural for me to, yeah, sure, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. No problem. I can fix that for you as well. So there's a fine line, obviously, from doing just sales pages to helping out with other things as well. But
Yeah.
again, the sales pages aspect does include design. So if, we agree on that maybe design should be updated a little bit, okay, that's part of what I do. I can help you with that, obviously. So,
Mm-hmm.
and, the technical side of it, okay, is it on Kajabi? Is it on, Instapages, Lead Pages? Is it a WordPress site? I can help you with that because, I know that as well. So it's still a part of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, at least when I'm working one on one, I'm making sure that it's, the value or what they pay or invest with me obviously reflects that. So I don't end up doing a lot of work that I technically don't get paid for. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, there's still,
So you
I am,
wouldn't build a separate freebie funnel if there is not a sales page involved, but if it's a
no.
sales page job, you are okay to do the maybe stuff that's connected to that, but you still want to have that core element. Is that how you define it?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm happy to give advice on things that is outside of the sales page, but I try really hard not to get into that because it's about building different kind of connections as well. Like, if I know somebody else who can do Facebook ads, because that is definitely not an area that I am good at, so
Mm-hmm.
and I can reference them to someone else, or like you mentioned, funnels. Well, you're the one who can help out with the funnels, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
just better to help them find someone who can really help them, who are good at what they do, instead of trying to do everything on my own, because that's basically what they've been doing in the past as well. They're coming to me because I'm an expert of sales pages. So let's stay in that lane and not, you know, go out on these other roads that doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
help me or the client.
Where do you find your clients? Are they old clients mostly from your design jobs, or is it word of mouth? Do you use ads? What's your process for finding clients?
Well, definitely is a lot of word of mouth. But I also make sure that I am visual in places like the BBD group, because I do know there's a lot of entrepreneur there, and they do have sales pages, obviously. So I want to make sure that they know if they need help with sales pages, I
Mm-hmm.
am the guy to go to. So make sure that I do stuff like that as well. But other than that, obviously, it's being on social media and doing, creating content and having some freebies, lead magnets, stuff like that as well. Not haven't been doing so much ads yet, but obviously that
Mm-hmm.
is something that need to happen as well, because that's the best way to scale. And obviously you can test out a lot of things if you do run ads, because then you can get a clearer vision of how things are working a lot faster versus trying to do it organic. But yeah, it will come.
Yeah, I think it's nice that you have a community of people surrounding you who know that the sales page is actually important. And I know we mentioned here a sales page a lot of times, but there might be some people listening to us here who are like, what it even is a sales page, and why is it important? So can you explain why you feel sales page is a vital element that could maybe, if you are 100% focus on this, I would think you think it could make or break your whole conversion numbers, routes, your
Yeah.
launches, and basically everything.
Yeah. Well, sales page obviously is there to sell something that you offer. That's its main purpose. And usually we do this through, running a launch. And when it comes to launch, then maybe we're doing Facebook ads in the front end of all this that leads to maybe a webinar or a video series or maybe a 3-day live launch, whatever it might be. And that from that point, you say that, if you want to join this program or this course or membership or whatever, then go to this page and then you can buy access for it. And usually that is the sales page. So it's usually sales pages are usually part of a funnel or a launch or whatever.
Mhm.
And the great thing about sales pages is if you do right and you're really good at it and you nail down the messaging and you have like a great offer and all that, you can take everything from the sales page and put it into the webinar and create content around whatever it is that you offer. You're not giving it all away, but you're giving a taste of it, like a piece of it, and maybe solve a problem. And then you can also use that messaging to create the Facebook ads so that you have this consistent message throughout your funnel from the Facebook ad to the webinar to the sales page. And by doing that, you make sure that, whenever they get to the sales page, they already are familiar with what's going to be on the sales page. And it kind of just helps them make an informed decision, helps them push themselves over the edge, kind of, just to make sure that, they see the value in it and they will buy. But obviously, if you screw this up and, the offer is bad, the messaging is terrible, and the design is awful, then it really doesn't matter almost how much you do in the front end, because then that poor messaging is going to evolve into the webinar and the Facebook ads as well. And that's not going to lead people to buy. So I think sales page is an essential part of the funnel, part of the launch, if you're
Mhm.
doing anything. But obviously, it depends. I mean, I'm not going to be sitting here saying that you have to have a sales page or anything like that, because sometimes you can sell without a sales page. There's no doubt about it. I've seen people do launches and just have, some posts on social media and that's it. And people, just buy from that or hit them up in the DMs or something like that. So there's definitely other ways, but I do feel if you're doing a launch or you have a funnel and the last step is the sales page, then definitely make sure that you put in the work and get the messaging right and make sure you have a really solid, irresistible offer and take them on the journey. Yeah.
Mhm. When working on a new project, when someone comes to you and they have maybe none of the process built yet, but they already have an idea on what the offer is, would it be the sales page where you get started, or would it be the freebie part, the first part of the funnel? What's the best way to build it? Like you mentioned, that you would want to bring a lot of content from the sales page into a webinar. So I have the feeling that you might suggest we start with that and then build the rest backwards.
Yeah.
Is that how you prefer working?
That's exactly how I would prefer to do it, because you have everything that you need on the sales page. And if it is a specific offer that you want to promote, then obviously you have everything you need on that sales page. All the messaging, you have the offer, what it's, the benefits are from joining that program or course or membership. And that makes it a lot easier just to create something out of that, because then you can tie it into it and it makes the messaging consistent, like I mentioned earlier as well. So yeah, start in with the end in mind, as James would say,
Mhm.
and work your way backwards from the sales page.
Makes so much sense, but sometimes we I don't know. I listen to the same thing all the time, and I just realized that with my latest with my membership, now I'm working on the freebie and I haven't done anything on the offer yet.
Right.
So this is a reminder for
This is
me.
just a reminder. Exactly.
Yeah, so important. Um what do you say about I I work with clients on their sales pages as part of my my projects sometimes, or most of the time. And I work with a set elements that I always want to have on the sales pages I would build. But sometimes people are like, no, 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 no. I don't want to make the page that long because people will get bored and no one will buy.
Mhm.
What's your take on that?
Well, that's a conversation that I see like all the time. Like, should I have a long sales page? Should I have a short sales page? I don't know. Long feels like people aren't going to read everything. And my take on it is that, well, first of all, there's been several studies on long sales pages and short sales pages, and long pages, sales pages, they outperform the short ones. So there's
Mm-hmm.
that. There's statistics that supports that. I believe that a longer page kind of addresses more people in terms of like there's always going to be someone who knows that they want to buy, so they'll just click on the button, buy. Don't even have to think about it because they've been through the webinar or whatever and thought like, this is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I'm going to join. Give me the link. And then you have people who are more like me who, okay, this was interesting. How much does it cost? I want to know that. So I usually skim through the whole page, find the price, and then just kind of skim through the rest of the page. And then at some point, I start looking a little bit more at the details, and then I make my
Mm-hmm.
decision. And then there's people who needs every single detail. They will read every single word on your page, but it's great because it's right there. The danger of having a too short sales page, obviously, is that you will not accommodate to all these types of people, and then you'll
Mm-hmm.
lose them. That being said, there are times and places for a shorter sales page, and I would say that is, when you have a warmer audience who, they've been following you for a long time, they watch your YouTubes, they maybe listen to your podcast, they're on the email list, so they're a little bit more warm. And
Mm-hmm.
if you then combine that with a low ticket offer, then you probably don't need to have like this excessive long sales page. But in general, long sales pages work better, but there's time place for short ones as well.
Mm-hmm. What is your take on displaying the value and the price? There is this common trait in online marketing that, and I would say most of the coaches are suggesting or recommending that the value of what you are offering would be 10 times,
Mm-hmm.
but at least multiples of what of the price tag you are putting on that in the end.
Yep.
But there are, and I followed this approach because I honestly pack that value for real into whatever I'm selling. But sometimes people see this as and I mean my clients who we are building the sales page for, they see this as something as if we were trying to trick people into buying and would be inflating the value.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of this? What's the best approach? And how would you deal with this if someone says, no, 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 this is the price and this is the value? I'm not moving from here. I'm not putting any other numbers out there, even if it has, like, I'm telling them, oh my god, just this service in itself is worth 500 more. This other one for a whole year is like 2000. Like, you are giving this all away,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not even mentioning it, and I feel like we're leaving money on the table. But with some, it just stops there. So
Yeah.
what do you think?
It definitely comes back to like value positioning and showing the value of your offer. And I think personally, I like to put it there. I understand that people have some hesitations, and that is probably because we do see, like you mentioned, a lot of people just inflating the price and just putting just a random price there just to kind of, oh, this is, you're getting something that's really expensive, but, just for the tenth of the price. But that being said, obviously, if you were giving this away or selling it, you would actually put a price on it. So why not do that on the sales page as well if you just sold it separately? So I think it has some sort of value just to do that. But it needs to be rooted in some kind of reality as well. Like we don't just throw out a price just to throw up a price and then Obviously, there's things that are kind of hard to set a price on. Like if you have a Facebook group,
Oh yeah.
the community there, to some that is priceless. How do you set a price on that? I don't know. So
Yeah, and some people actually put the word priceless
priceless.
there.
Yeah.
They're like, let's try to put a number.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult.
So it's hard, and then it kind of ties back to what we talked about earlier as well. Like setting the price and feeling what it's worth for us as well. It's hard, and I get that, but in the end, I think if we do it the right way, we show them that you're getting actually a lot of value here. And yes, I am selling it at a cheaper price, but that is because we're doing it this kind of way where we might have a group setting of it, or you spent years and years on gaining all this knowledge and sharing that your expertise and knowledge that has a value too. It's not just like someone just stepped in a month ago and I can do the same because I can.
Hmm.
So there's that side of it as well. But I get that it's hard, and I get that it's might feel a little bit weird. But I think people, when they see that it has a value and you're actually getting more value than it's worth, it kind of helps position the offer in a different perspective than versus not doing it. But you know,
Hmm.
what I like to say about sales pages, regardless of what I say and what my opinion is, test it. Like, see what happens if you do put value prices on your offers,
Hmm.
and see what happens. It does it, increase your conversions. Great, keep them. But if it decreases the conversions, cut them, take them out. Don't have them there, right? So
Yeah.
if you're testing just that one specific thing, then you'll learn how it works.
Hmm. Yeah. You mentioned increasing, decreasing conversion. When we are starting out with something new, what conversion should we be looking at? What's a good conversion number?
That's a great question as well. And it really depends a little bit on whether you are serving a cold audience, a warm audience, or hot audience, even. I would say if it is cold audience, you would probably typically see maybe around 1 to 2% at the most. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is a good number to work with. The warmer your
Hmm.
audience is, the higher the conversion rate is going to be. So let's say it's a relatively warm audience, then maybe you can expect something between 5 to 10%. And if it's a really hot audience that you've been nurturing for a long time, and they're always rated by their fans, then you can probably expect somewhere between 10 and 20%. So it's not unheard of
Hmm.
in that aspect as well. But yeah, I mean, don't get totally bummed out if you're just getting a couple of percent on the conversion rate. But always aim to improve that. And the only way
Hmm.
to figure this out is to test things and not test too many things at once, obviously, because then you don't know what's affecting your conversion rate. But test one thing, obviously, at a time, and then you'll figure out like what is working, what is not working. Regardless, it's a
Yeah.
lesson. Don't take it so hard, even if you lose the conversion at some point. But just take a lesson from it and say, okay, I'm not going to do that. Let's get back on track and try something else.
Hmm. When you say 1 or 2% with a colder or yeah, not so warm audience, do you calculate that number from the people who saw the freebie, or is it the actual visitors to the sales page? So out of everyone that saw the sales page, how many bought? How do you calculate that
Yeah,
number?
I calculate that by the views on sales page. That's the only thing that matters. I mean, yes, you can
Hmm.
have a lot of traffic that kind of falls out somewhere, and that's not going to give you, at least not for the sales page conversion rate. Obviously, the launch conversion
Okay.
rate, you need to look a little bit further down the line. But for the sales page, just look at the views, how many people viewed my page, how many people bought, and that will tell you how it's performing.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because the conversion might be very different for the actual sales page than for an entire funnel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can have, let's say you have a really good conversion rate on your Facebook ads, like there's a lot of people signing up for your webinar or whatever. And then, people go on your webinar, and once they come to sales page, everything just falls flat. Nothing is working. You have terrible conversions, not a people buying. That will tell you, obviously, where in the funnel the problem is. So you can start actually, okay,
Yeah.
everything else is performing pretty good, but the sales page is not. So I need to work on that. If it had been
Mhm.
the other way around, then obviously the sales page is converting excellent, then you can start looking at, okay, maybe I can do something in the Facebook ads to get more people in, or higher qualified people maybe, or maybe you take a look at a webinar, maybe I'm not explaining things well enough, blah blah, so I can get some more people convinced that this is the right thing to do. But yeah, I at least for the sales page, I look at the views versus how many people buy.
Hmm. Would you ever drive paid traffic to a sales page directly,
You
like
can absolutely
ads?
do that. Yeah. Obviously, then, like I said, I'm not a Facebook expert, but if you're retargeting, your audience, your email list, obviously, then you can uh, take them to a sales page with a higher ticket offer, obviously, and they are more likely to buy. But if you're doing it
Which
with a
means
call,
reaching out to people who have already interacted with you, right?
exactly, yeah.
So in
So
that case, we are talking about a little warmer audience,
warm
right?
audience, yes. And then high ticket offer is easier to sell, but with a cold audience, that could prove to be harder. Not impossible by any means, but it could be harder. And I think with a low ticket offer, then it's probably easier to just go from Facebook ad directly to a sales page, and you can get people to buy. And as long as you make more money than you spend on ads, then you can just put more money on the ads and you make more money. So that's a great way to do it.
Hmm. When it comes to the payment options, it also often happens that people want to put like 4 or 5 options there, and I'm always trying to guide them towards having 2 options. But it's because for me, if I have too many options, I would go away and would be like, okay, I have to come back to even understand what's going on here. But if it's 2 options, or if it's just one option, like, do you want this or not? That's the question.
Hmm.
I tend to buy more or purchase more things with those kind of offers. Is this something you would have a preference on?
Definitely, like you mentioned, if you have just one price, that leads them to, do you want to buy? Yes or no?
Mm,
And some people say yes, some people say no. If you have two price options, the question doesn't become, do you want to buy? It's because you want to buy this or do you want to buy that? So that makes
mhm,
a buying decision. And obviously, having those side by side and letting people compare them, like, what am I getting with this? What am I getting with that? That also helps them kind of see the difference in the value. I think I've heard at some point that having between 2 and 3 options is what's considered the best, because if you have like a really, let's say you have, well, we just talked about two, but if you have 3 options, then you have the option that is the cheapest, and you have the option that is the most expensive, and then you have something in between. And people will tend to lean towards the middle
yeah.
offer because it looks so good between those two offers that they will go for the middle offer. I think
Hmm.
it's something like that. And that just goes back to like psychology of how we behave and interact with things. So buyer psychology, basically. But it's interesting. But I definitely recommend at least 2, then maybe 3. But above that, it just becomes a little bit messy, like you said.
Hmm. Yeah. From what you've seen with sales pages, um, and you have probably seen a lot, and you are looking at them with different eyes than the rest of us. Um, what would you say is the most typical thing that people forget about including in the sales page, and they are missing out because it's so important?
That's a good question. I think a lot of times I do think that people leave out a guarantee too often. And, that's just about make sure that we show them that you're not taking any risk by joining this. And I know a lot of people are hesitant to like set a guarantee because they think that, oh no, what if people actually, let's say you can
Cancel and want to
cancel, or
refund.
you refund, or whatever it might be. Obviously, we don't want that, but I promise you, like in probably 99% of the cases, people do not ask for a refund because either they know that they haven't done the things they need to do in order to get the results, or they're not
Hmm.
going to even bother going through the hassle of asking for the refund because maybe you said that you have to put in the work, show me the work that you've done, and they can't. So, but obviously there's going to be maybe a couple here or there that asks for the refund, and happily give them the refund, because we don't want
Yeah.
unhappy customers. Obviously, we want to help people, we want to help them get the results. But I think just having that guarantee is going to help people make that decision that okay, I'm not taking any risk here, I can ask for a refund within 30 days, and that's fine. But most people probably won't. And if you're running a membership, most people will just cancel. They're not going to ask for a refund for the first 30 days if
Yeah.
they didn't find it valuable.
Hmm.
That's definitely one of the things that people should embrace a little bit more. But and obviously testimonials is a huge thing, showing that there's other people who've gone through the same and they've had some great results. And obviously that can be a little bit harder when you're starting out. But re- let's say you create a new offer and you don't have any testimonials for that offer, that doesn't mean you can't put testimonials on that page. I mean, you probably still have work with people one-on-one, or help
Yeah.
people get some kind of results. And it's, even though it's not the same offer, it's probably not that far away from it. It's still relevant, I would say. So I would still put that out there. And the best testimonials are obviously the ones who can speak to a specific results that people want. And I like
Hmm.
to use the images of the people who give the testimonials, because that makes it a little bit more personal. The name, maybe what they do, what company they are with, or something like that. I mean, the more specific it gets, the better it is, obviously. But we want to get beyond just the praise testimonials where they just say, "Oh, it's so great to work with Ken," or whatever. But we want to get
Hmm.
into the results of what they actually achieved with the offer that you had.
Yeah, but it's still so much better to actually have something there about how is it working with you rather than nothing.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your view on the approach that on a sales page, people should be able to understand the whole picture, even if they don't look at the rest of what you have out there, like your story, why you decided to build this. Sometimes people are like, yeah, but they have it on the about page, or they have it, or I mentioned it in an email, and stuff like that. Is it important to still recap on all of that, or should we just stick to like the offer and everything that's strictly connected to the offer?
I like to see like the an about you section in the sales page, where and it typically, I would like to see it. Let's say you go through the sales pitch, you have the headline, you talk about some pain that they're going through, the problems they're experiencing, and then you talk about the transformation that they get. And then you present yourself, because then you set yourself up as the guide, the expert that can help them get that transformation. And it's not about making it so technical and, look at all the diplomas I have and the degrees I have, but more of showing them that, I've been through this, or I've helped people through this. I'm here to help you. And, this is the thing that we see in all kinds of storytelling as well. Like there's always going to be, the main character that struggles with something, and at some point it meets someone who can help them get to, the end goal that is in the story. So I think that
Hmm.
is just as important with the sales pitch, because with the sales pitch, we're telling a story, we're taking them on a journey, and they are the main character, and we want to present ourselves as the guide who can help them. So I think it's definitely a place for that as well.
Okay. What's your take on the actual menu on the top of a sales page? Should we have no menu at all? Or is it okay to have it? Should we have social links at the bottom, or should it all be about this is the offer, do you want it or not?
Definitely, it should be about the offer. Any links that leads to something external is going to make them leave the page, and maybe they'll not come back. Maybe they'll forget, whatever. So we want to make sure that the focus is on the sales page and the offer that you have. However, I have seen people use like a menu for the sales page itself, so you can go skip
Hmm.
to specific sections within the sales page, which is really a nice way to help people who don't want to go through the entire page. So let's say you have one that says price or pricing. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Click on that. I get straight down to the pricing area.
Straight
Okay,
there.
cool. Now I know what it costs. Well, let's go back and check, the rest of this if this is interesting to me at all. But so that's one of the ways I see a menu being used. But a menu for your entire website or social media or stuff like that, don't do it. Shouldn't be there. Only thing that should
Mm-hmm.
be there is privacy policy and terms and conditions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kind of things that should be there. But other than that, it's the call to action, the button to click in to the checkout page.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to writing the actual content, the copy, what's your approach on AI? If we ask the right questions, I would say ChatGPT or other tools would create pretty awesome copy for a sales page, but then after a while they all might seem not identical but very very similar. Do you use it at all? Do you recommend using AI? And how can we still make sure that our page remains unique and our language or our personality or whatever we want to stand for gets transmitted?
Yeah, that's a big thing, obviously. But I personally love using ChatGPT and AI. But everything has it limits, and it's like you say, it's gonna come up with things that might look similar to other things because it is getting information from the internet and from other people's responses from before. It's you got to use it wisely in terms of
Mhm.
um, making sure that you put your human aspect on it. You can't just copy and paste it and hope that that will work. It might, obviously, but it's going to lose you in the end. It's not going to have your exact tone of voice, but obviously it's a lot about what you ask for. What you put in is what you're going to get out. So if you put shit in, you're going to get shit out.
Yeah.
Like, it's really that simple. So the better you structure your prompts with the AI, obviously it's going to give you better answers. But and it's also about how you set it up and how you describe what it should be working as. So, but I love to use it, and I'll make sure that I
Mhm.
go through it every time I do something like that. But and that's where I think is also important to, even if maybe you don't write that much copy or your messaging is not your thing, learn a little bit about it. Learn a little bit about the psychology of the words that we use and the way we say things. And I mean, and that's the thing. It's gonna be similar to others either way, because there are things that we've learned from these people in marketing way
Mhm.
back. Like, none of the things that we're experiencing today is something that came up today. It's usually
Mhm.
something that goes back 50 years, 60 years, maybe even more, because there's principles that we use today as well. So learning a little bit about messaging and copywriting and stuff like that, I think it's important, but you don't have to be an expert on it. But that gives you at least the ability to take a look at what ChatGPT gives you and say, "Oh, well, I don't know, that didn't sound right," and then maybe you can tweak on it or something. But at least it's a good way to kind of get a draft going and maybe get some ideas and brainstorm a little bit if you're stuck, instead
Mhm.
of just trying to come up with everything on your own, obviously.
Where would you say we gotta go to learn about this? Sometimes you see things floating around like, don't use prices that end in a 7 because that's outdated. With round it up and go with that number, or then others go with angel numbers like 1111.
Yep.
uh, and that's the I think that's the easiest, easily accessible kind of like these little tips.
Hmm.
But where did you learn that? Where would someone go who is like, yeah, I want to understand more about messaging and how to not manipulate people, but actually truly transmit what I have in here and get my message across and have it come across in a way that I truly mean it.
Yeah. Well, one of my personal favorites is Brandon Lucero. He is
Mm-hmm.
the expert of messaging. And just the person he is, that is not about manipulating at all. And I think messaging is not about manipulating. It's about maybe influencing. That's probably the strongest word we could use, that I would say
Mm-hmm.
is the point of it, because we want to influence them to make the right decision. But in the end, it's their decision. But we want to make sure that we at least use some of the words so that it triggers something subconsciously, obviously, because that's where we make a lot of decisions comes from this subconscious mind that we're not even thinking about. But it's about using the right words and presenting things in the right way. Yeah, definitely Brendan Lucero. And I don't remember who wrote the book, but Slate of Mouth is a great book that is worth checking out as well.
Mm-hmm.
But and James Wedmore has a lot of great stuff around messaging as well. So I think it's more about just staying true to yourself. And you mentioned the thing with pricing as well. Like, yeah, there's a reason why we use 99 at the end, or 97 or something like that. But I had a conversation with someone the other day, and we talked about she using angel numbers, and I was like, I love that. It's great.
Hmm.
You don't have to use 97.99. You can use angel numbers. You can use round numbers. And I think people are getting so sophisticated now that they kind of understand that. Like, oh yeah, sure, we know that is
Yeah.
$300, not 297. I get that. But again, if you
I'm
use
on team 97. All my prices in
so yeah,
numerals.
exactly. But I mean, if your audience is into angel numbers and you're a spiritual kind of person and you do those kind of things, it makes sense to use those kind of numbers. I mean, use what makes sense for you. And I mean, if you want to price it at $500 instead of $497, then go ahead and do it. But again, like I mentioned earlier, test it, see what happens. Like, do you get more sales with $497 versus 500? I don't know. Maybe you get more sales with 555. Who knows?
Yeah. Sometimes that happens because when we go too low, people might be like, does this even have value?
Yeah,
Right? Or at least I get suspicious when something is too cheap. I was
too good to be true.
I was looking at knitting patterns the other day.
Right?
and and there was an amazing one, but it was $1.80. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
this one must be fake because the usual price is like $8, $10, 12, and those are really good quality patterns. But
Hmm.
when it's 180, I have the feeling that it's just someone taking a knitting magazine from the 70s, making pictures of the pages and then selling that. That's my
Could it be?
impression. And I think that might be applied to higher levels or different um, products or industries as well. But
Yeah,
sometimes I'm just like, I love this picture, but I'm not going to buy it. It's just too cheap. I'm going to go
exactly.
for something more expensive. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny how our brain works.
it is. It is.
Um, what's your suggestion on when we? I don't know if you advise people on pricing at all, but if you do, there is often this hesitation around when I make something have a payment plan option and making that option more expensive. And some people would say that's not fair because to you it costs the same, which to me it's not even true because there is so much more to do with four payments than one payment.
Yes.
But what's your suggestion on this one?
Well, I agree on that. That there is more work. I mean, yeah, it doesn't take you much time. I mean, probably it's automated too when the next payment is due. But when
Mm-hmm.
you start having multiple payments, then suddenly, oh, the payment didn't go through. That's when you start spending more time on, okay, why didn't it go through? I need to send it out again, test it out, or reach out to this person, or maybe they end up not paying at all. So you're taking a huge risk by having those uh, payments, obviously, versus paying it full. Because if you pay in full, you get all the money up front, you're done, nothing more to do with that. So I think that if we do payment plans, then it should be a little bit more expensive because we are taking on a little bit more risk, because there are people who won't fill up their end of the agreement and pay everything, or you have to follow up with them because they didn't pay, or maybe come up with a new payment plan. Or yeah, so I totally agree with you. There's no
Yeah.
job with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it makes sense.
It makes sense. It does.
Yeah, all right. When it comes to your work, do you prefer working on something from scratch, or do you prefer an already working system where you have some numbers already and working on improving that?
I prefer starting on something that's already there. So even
Mm-hmm.
if that is just a draft almost, that's totally fine. But at least we have something to start off with. And obviously, the best ones are the ones that already been through maybe a couple of launches, because then we have some numbers, we have some data to it,
Yeah.
so we know how it's performing, which means that we know that whatever we do, it could improve. Because if you're starting with a fresh page, then you basically don't know how it's going to perform. I mean, you might have an idea, but still, you just be guessing pretty much. So it's good to
Yeah.
have something that's already been through some couple of launches to kind of guide you of where this page is at currently, and where we can take it.
Mm-hmm. What would you say are the worst examples that you have seen out there when it comes to a sales page?
Ooh, good question. I mean, for it to be a really bad sales page, it have to fail on every level. And I look at a sales page through my click to cash system, which is we look at first and foremost copy. We want to make sure that the copy converts, obviously, and if it doesn't, it's a huge part of your sales page. I would say it's probably the most important thing of your sales page, because you can sell probably anything if your copy is good, the messaging is good. But obviously, you can sell more if the other parts are working as well. But messaging, huge
Mm-hmm.
part. And then the second part is obviously the offer. It needs to be an irresistible offer that stands out. If it's not, then it's going to be hard to sell something that people don't really want, obviously. And then third part is, the visual part of the sales page. It needs to have a certain structure. It needs to guide people through the story or the journey. And obviously, if it looks nice, it helps, right? But I mean, you can still sell
Mm.
things with a terrible design. I know that still happens. But if you terrible design, your offer is not good, and your messaging is falling flat, sorry, but you're gonna be a struggle to sell anything. To be honest.
Mm-hmm. It was the second time now that you mentioned irresistible offer.
Hmm.
How do we do that? What does it mean? What makes it irresistible?
Well, it definitely needs to solve a problem that people want to have solved. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, not all the time they're going to be totally aware of it, but that comes into how you nurture your people, what the content you create before that. But it needs to solve a problem that it want to have solved. That is probably the most important thing. And I think the second part of that is that it is also combined with something that you want to help them with, because it doesn't really
Mm-hmm.
help you to create a offer that people want to buy, but you don't really want to help them with that problem. I mean, it's going to be hard to kind of help people through that. So there needs to be this combination of the love for the offer, and it needs to also solve a problem for your audience. And then you can spice it up a little bit by putting some offer amplifiers, as I call it. You add some bonuses, you add some guarantee, scarcity, or urgency to it. So just making it a little bit more juicy, basically adding more value to it.
What do you think of scarcity elements like deadline funnel,
Hmm.
timeline funnel? Those are very much
Yes.
debated tactics. To those who are not familiar with this, these tools create scarcity based on when the person arrived into our world. So it's not like I have an offer or I'm raising my prices at the end of this month. From the 1st of March or April, my prices are going up for everyone. They work based on the life cycle of the client. So they might offer you something if you are new, but not offer it if you are recurring or a repeat visitor.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I am not a huge fan of those kind of funnels where you basically everything is tied up to your IP address. So
Yeah.
the clock starts as soon as you get into the page and you have 50 minutes to make a decision. It's like, okay. But that being said, they do work. I mean, they're there for a reason. So obviously they do work, but not a huge fan personally, but I mean, you can definitely use them. But I feel like if you're going to use urgency scarcity, there should be some real urgency, some real scarcity in those areas. Because if it's not, then you're just using it to manipulate people, and that doesn't really work. So, yeah, I would shy away from that, but make sure that it is something that is authentic. That is, you do have limited spots because you're doing this one-on-one. So obviously you can't have 100 people. You can only have 10. And I'm only opening this now, and I'll be shutting the doors and opening up again in 3 months. Make it real. And if you do that, then I think there's a place for it. But yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, it still works. So, like I said, use it however you want to. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. If someone is listening now and they are like, oh, I would love to know more about this, or I would love to work with Ken, or I would love to have Ken have a look at my sales page, where can they find you? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
The best way is on Instagram. You can just send me a DM. Just search for the Sales Page Pro, and you'll find me. So that's the best place to find me.
Cool. And I would encourage people, because when I first heard of what you are doing, I thought, okay, that must be a service that starts at like 5,000, because it's totally tailored. And so I would say, guys, check it out. There are different levels. It's not like someone has to like hire you right at the start for something huge. Yeah, do I understand it correctly that you have different levels depending on how much of support someone wants you
Yeah.
to give?
Yes, there's definitely different levels of support. It doesn't have to be. We don't have to go do a full makeover on your sales page. Obviously, there's other ways to start. You can start by getting a 50-minute review of your page, which is, just $100, which is, you get the essential, the most important aspect of it. And then we obviously don't have time to dive deep into it, but it gives you, a little head start. And then obviously you can do a lot more. We can have an hour session where we go through your entire page and we look at everything that you could refine, and you get an action list of things that you can make changes. Obviously you're left on your own by implementing this, but you'll get my expert opinion on your sales page. And then obviously we can go up to, working on specific pieces of your pages as well. And then lastly, we have full makeover. Yeah, different levels.
That's fantastic, because I think sometimes people are afraid, like, oh.
Yeah, it doesn't have to cost thousands of dollars, to be honest, to get
and of
started.
course, others might be like, I don't care, just go through the whole thing as deep as it has to be. Let's do this. I'm all in.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of approaches. Now back to you a little bit into your entrepreneurial journey. Where do you see yourself in a year's time or in 3 years' time with this new space that you are creating and taking up in the world of online businesses? What's your dream?
Well, my vision is to become the sales page pro and be known as the guy to go to for fixing your sales page. Just like we have Jeff Walker with launches, we have Stu McLaren who does membership, Brad Lucero that I talked about that does messaging. I want to be that guy for sales pages. So that's like the big vision. Obviously, year from now, 3 years from now, I hope that I'm well on my way to get there. Hopefully, I've been on James Wedmore's podcast, baby, or get to be on stage on BBD Live, or stuff like that. And I think it's all within the reach, because this is a market that is pretty much untouched. I don't feel like I've seen anybody take up that space at all. So I think there's a market for that. And as we talked about throughout this entire interview, is people use sales pages for their launches. So it's not going away anytime soon. So yeah.
Yeah. Everybody needs one or a couple.
Probably, everyone for every single offer they have. So yeah.
Yeah. This is fantastic. I'm rooting for you on this
Thank you.
coming true. And I trust that that being on this show is one step
Hopefully.
closer to that, and I think we brought amazing value to our listeners, even to those who didn't even ever haven't even ever thought of the importance of their sales page, and to those that have already multiple sales pages, but I'm sure we have been able to make them think and gave them ideas on how to actually improve and take it to the next level. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you for
Thanks.
having
I
me.
appreciate you.